Hi, this is your instructor, Tori Quizmundo. The purpose of this video is to take you through Project 4 so that you can continue to study to earn your certification in Microsoft Office Excel 2019. Let's get started. Task number 1, configure the print settings to print titles in each page. Now, why would you do that to start off with? Well, let's take a look at it. Have you ever had an Excel file and you've printed it out? And after you print it, you take a look and you realize that on page 2 and page 3, there are no headings at the top, no titles at the top. So ultimately what happens is you try to line it up. I've seen some people try to tape their papers together. So what they're asking us to do is to continue the titles across that. So this is a pretty easy step. We're going to go to our page layout tab. We're going to select the print titles button. We're going to click here where it says print titles, rows to repeat at the top. We'll select that area. And then we're going to come down here and click on row 11 because that's where our titles are that we want repeated. And then we're going to say OK. But before we do that, let's go ahead and check the print preview just so that you can get an idea. And now whenever you look on page 2, you've got titles at the top of page 2. So that task is complete. Let's go ahead and take a look at task 2. Link the text in cell B9 to connectco.com and add a screen tip of Connect Echo cells. All right, so I'll go ahead and click in cell B9. And then I'm going to my Insert tab, and I'm going to go to my Links button, and I'm going to say that I'd like a hyperlink. And this hyperlink here, I'd like to link it to KINETECO.com. And now I need to add a screen tip. So my screen tip button is right up here. And my screen tip is going to be for KINETECO space sales. And make sure you get all your caps in there properly and your spaces, and we'll say OK and OK. And that's all we had to do for that task. So task 2 is complete. Task 3, add a hyperlink to the logo in row 9. I'll add a hyperlink to the logo to cell B9. Well, the logo is in row 9, but add a hyperlink to the logo in row 9 to cell B9 on the instructions worksheet. So now we're going to do another hyperlink, only this time it's going to be to another location in our worksheet. And then it's going to ask us to hyperlink that text back to Project 4. So we want to select our logo, and we're going to hyperlink it to cell B9 on the instructions worksheet. So we're going to come up here to link again, and we're going to say that we want to link it to a place in this document, which is not the default. Web page is your default. So we want to say link it to a place in this document, and we want to link it to the instructions sheet. So we're going to click on instructions, and it's going to ask us what cell we would like it linked to. We're going to say we would like it linked to cell B9. So now we say we want it linked to a place in this document in cell B9 on the instruction sheet. So we'll go ahead and click OK on that. Now if I come over here and I click on my logo, it's going to take me to the instructions worksheet. And now, in cell B9, it probably should have said cell B11, but that's okay. But this is the cell it linked it to. And now we're going to take this text here and link it back, just to make sure that you know you can link text or you can link images. So we're going to select cell B9 since that's what the instructions say. We're going to click on our hyperlink. We're going to say that we like to, remember the default is existing web file or web page, but here we're going to say at a place in this document, and we'd like to link it back. So let's make sure where we're linking it back to. We want to link it back over, let's link it back to cell A9 because cell A9 is where our logo is, really. So we'll come back here to our instructions. We're going to say that we'd like to link this text here to cell A9, a place in this document, and we're going to say on Project 4. And OK. Now that's going to create itself a link, and when I click on that link, it's going to link me back. So you can link to a web page, but you can also link to another location in your file. So just make sure when you come up here to your hyperlink button that you're deciding if you're going to link it to a file or a web page or a place in this document. And that's typically the two that you'll get. Sometimes you will get to an email address, but these are the two that you have seen or will see on this test. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the next task. Task number 4. Insert for internal use only in the center of each page header. In order for you to really get an idea of where your page header is located, what you're going to want to do is look at, right now, we're on a particular view, and it's going to be called our normal view. And we could go to our page layout view, and that's going to give us the best view for our headers and footers. You can do that by coming down here on the bottom right and selecting the page layout view, or you could come up here to the view tab and you could click on the view tab and you could select your page layout view. Either one is going to give it to you, and now we've got our header right here. So it's going to ask us to insert for internal use only in the center of each page header, because see, you've got a left, you've got a center, and you've got a right. And you also have a footer down here too. If you were to ask to put something in the footer, you could scroll down and you could see your footer is located down there. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll back up, and it wants me to add this into the center of my header. So I'm going to type in there for internal use only, and that task is complete. Now what I would encourage you to do is on your view tab, go ahead and click out of this header somewhere and then go back to your normal view, because then if not, it just kind of looks sort of confusing to you the rest of the time. Now it's going to ask me to change the formatting in cell C11. So I'm going to take a look here at cell C11, and it's going to ask me to change the formatting to display the column heading on 2 lines. And that one's actually a really simple task. It just wants me to wrap the text, but remember, they don't actually ask you what the buttons say, because you know, that would be way too easy. So they want us to wrap the text. So I'm going to click wrap text there, and now you can see date of purchase. So that task is complete. Let's take a look at task 6. Configure the worksheet so row 11 and columns A and B are always visible. All right. That first part of that task is what they're going to ask you to do is they want you to freeze panes. But they're not going to say freeze the panes. They're going to say make things visible. So if we want columns A and B and row 11, so we're going to have to click to the right, everything to the left and above. Just remember that. Everything to the left and above the cell that you select will get frozen. So right here, if I take a look at this, everything to the left, so if I click in cell C12, everything to the left, column A and B, which is what they've asked for, and everything above, all right, which is row 11, will still be visible. So I'm going to come up here to my view tab, and under my view tab in my window settings, here's a freeze panes button. And so let's just really get a good view of this before I even select anything. If I scroll to the right and I get over here and I say, oh, but who did total price belong to? Because I'm really not sure. I'd have to keep scrolling back to look. Or as I scroll down here, I could look at this and say, oh yeah, but what was this? Is that the item number, or what is that? So what this will do is it will freeze those panes so that you can always see your identifiers. So I'm going to click into cell C12 because everything to the left and above needs to be frozen. And I'm going to go to my freeze panes buttons, and I'm going to say freeze panes. If I only wanted the top row frozen, I could choose that, or the first column frozen, I could choose that. But that's actually pretty rare. So you need to remember, and it'll show you here, everything to the left and above. All right, so now if I scroll down, I can always see date of purchase, SKU, name, quantity, total price, first name, and last name. And as I scroll to the right, I'm always going to see first name, last name, and see who it's identified with. So it does put like a light colored line there so that you can see that it's been frozen, which is kind of cool. All right, so that part of that task is complete. Let's take a look at the rest of the task that's listed on there. I'd like to go above cell 8. Oh, it's not going to show it to me. All right, let me unfreeze these because I need to go back up, and for whatever reason, it is not letting me scroll back up to the tip top. And I wanted to take a look at the last part of that. So I'm going to come up here and say unfreeze panes. And let me scroll back up. There we go. All right, so what I need to do here is I want to finish out this task here. It says before moving on, display the formulas on the page and not the values. So you will probably have this question on your test, and it'll say, the task will say something really simple like do not display the formulas, or it'll say display the values. At any rate, If it's going to ask you to display the formulas and not the values, you could do something really quick, which will give you a keyboard shortcut. Control tilde will bring you over to your formulas, and that's what they're asking for. If you don't want to do Control tilde, which flips you back and forth each one, then you could always come up here and you could go to formulas, and under your formulas, it's going to say show formulas in the formula auditing area. However, on your test, those words won't be there, just this little icon. So if you know what that little icon means, then you can flip back and forth. So just remember, if it's going to tell you to display your formulas, but sometimes it won't say display formulas, sometimes it will say before moving on, do not display your values, and don't skip that part. That just means to go in and show your formulas. All right, let's take a look at the very last task that we have over here on our sheet, which is going to be, I'm going to get out of this formulas view. The very last task, remove the hidden properties and personal information from the workbook. Do not remove any other content. Now, I've turned that off on mine because it kept causing my computer to freeze. And so I just want to share the steps with you to do that. To remove hidden properties and personal information from the workbook, you would go to File, check for issues, and then you would say that you'd like to inspect the document. However, I have mine turned off, but you would inspect the document, and it will actually say on there, what do you want to inspect for, and it'll go through the inspection, and then it will tell you that you have hidden items. But see, I have it turned off on mine, so you'll find the one that says hidden items, and you will remove it and hit close. All right, so that task will be that simple. All right, so that's going to be Project 4. If you understand all of this, go ahead and take a look at Project